It's about to be July. We are almost in redraft season, ladies and gentlemen, and I understand a lot of us are going to be looking at our dynasty teams going, you know what, man? Hell, I'm sitting here in second place. I'm sitting here in third place in my dynasty league. Let's go ahead and before the season starts, let's trade our 2024 first round pick so I can be a true contender and take this league down this season. I want to talk about exactly why that may be the worst thing for you to do and why, if you're a contending team, you should actually look to be holding on to as many 2024 first round picks that you can. But first, we need to talk about the risk of trading away your 2024 first. Now, owning your own 2024 first going into a season gives you the security just in case everything goes wrong, right? And this is why I strongly advise that everybody holds on to their future first, not only in 2024, but it pains me so bad to see people trade away their 2025 first round picks, their 2026 first round picks, because I can sit here, right, with a dynasty team that I think is great. I mean, hell, maybe last year I was sitting here going, you know what? I have Matthew Stafford, Trey Lance at quarterback. Ooh, that's looking good. At running back, I'm sitting here with Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift. Oh, I'm going to dominate there. At wide receiver, I mean, I am just loaded with Jamar Chase and so many depth pieces. At tight end, I'm sitting here with Mark Andrews. This season's going to be great. And then the wheels fall off. I go from being a pretender to having no real shot to actually win the league that season. And what happens is if I traded away my 2023 first round pick that ended up maybe being the 102, the 103, I just went from what would have been a bad situation in my dynasty league to a situation I simply cannot recover from. So that is why it is so important that you hold on to your 2024 first until you get confirmation that you are a real contender. I mean, this is one of the big mistakes that I see from people when they first get into Dynasty because everybody loves their team, right? I mean, you're probably sitting in your Dynasty league right now, and if you were to go through and ask every single person in your league, hey man, do you think you are a contender this season? Do you think you have a shot to win the league? I would say probably about 10 out of the 12 people in your league are going to say, yeah, hell yes, I'm in the mix. I have a shot to win it. Reality, there may be a handful of actual contenders. There may be a group of 3 or 4 pretenders, and it's difficult to know exactly where you fall just because fantasy football is so random and the range of outcomes that we have with these teams is extremely wide. So what I would prefer to do is hold on to these picks until we get confirmation that we are actually contenders. Now, of course, it's hard to know exactly when to go ahead and sell them because if you're going to sit here and say, okay, well, Mason, I mean, you're telling me that I am not a contender now. I mean, but I'm looking at my team. I'm pretty damn strong. When do I know if I'm a contender? I would say by the time we get about a month through the season where we have a decent enough sample size where we can look at our roster top to bottom, have an understanding of who's performing, who's not, who's healthy, who's not. And if we're at that point sitting at 3-1, if we're at that point even sitting at 2-2, but our roster's healthy and you think that you're going to have some players breaking out at the end of the season, then we can get confirmation that we are a contending team. And then at that point, maybe we can go ahead and look to sell our 2024 first. Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum, you may be sitting there in week 4 or week 5 going, okay, well, crap. Justin Jefferson tore his ACL week 2. Jalen Hurts high ankle sprain week 3. I'm starting off 1-3, 1-4. I have no shot to win it this year. How about I burn this down and earn the 101, the 102 this next season, and then I can come back in 2024 and be a juggernaut. Now, of course, at the end of this video, we'll talk about some of those rookies and the actual value of those 2024 players, but that's not going to be the main thing we focus in on right now. Now, the second advantage that you get by waiting to trade away your 2024 first until you get to weeks 4, 5, 6 is you actually get an idea of what we should be trading for, as well as who is healthy and who is producing, aka who is actually going to help us. Now, a big thing is, right, if you're sitting here with your 2024 first, you can look at your roster and you could say, well, man, you know what? At wide receiver, I have Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Hollywood Brown, Treylon Burks. I'm great at wide receiver. It's just running back, I'm not too confident, right? I mean, at running back, I'm sitting here and I really only have Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, Isaiah Pacheco. Maybe I should add in another RB. What happens if your running backs actually exceed expectations, where Jonathan Taylor is dominant, J.K. Dobbins finally breaks out, and Isaiah Pacheco is the true starting running back for the Kansas City Chiefs? You don't need a running back. So if we were to have gone through and traded away our 2024 first for that running back and we didn't need it, it's kind of a wasted opportunity, because you could be sitting at the opposite end of the spectrum, whereas you thought your wide receiver core was strong, and then all of a sudden Tyreek Hill goes down with an injury that's going to hold him out 2 months. Hollywood Brown doesn't do anything because the Arizona Cardinals are a dumpster fire. And while you thought going into the season when it was June and we are just kind of guessing that you would need running back, in reality, you actually needed wide receiver. So it's going to be advantageous in that we need to figure out, one, are we truly contending to trade away our 2024 first? And two, what we actually need. Now, other thing that we want to be looking at is if we wait until we get to weeks 4, 5, and 6, we know when we trade away our 2024 first, the player that we are going to be getting in return is healthy and producing. I mean, while yes, maybe you really like the price point, right? If you're able to trade away your 2024 first in June and you're able to get Davante Adams coming in, and Davante Adams looks like he's going to be a wide receiver one this next season. Well, what happens if even you are correct that you are a contender, and then you actually needed a wide receiver during the season, but before the season starts, something happens with the quarterback situation in Vegas, and Vegas is just one of the worst teams in the league, and Davante Adams is only a wide receiver too? Or what happens before the season starts if Davante Adams goes out there and injures himself in training camp? You're taking on the additional risk by going ahead and trading for that player now, rather than waiting until weeks 4, 5, and 6 so we can check all these boxes. 1, we know that we are contending. 2, we know what we need to trade for. 3, we know what player is healthy and producing to fill that hole for us. Now, the last thing I want to combat is going to be the fact that I'm going to have a lot of people saying, well, come on, Mason. I mean, in June, in July, it's the best time to sell these future picks because everybody is thinking about their team for the long term. Everybody is sitting here and thinking about what my team's going to look like in 2027 rather than actually submitting a starting lineup this season. This is the time I can get discount on veterans. And in reality, I'll say, yeah, you may be able to find, say, a 10% discount if you go out there and buy a veteran like Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon, Saquon Barkley, Davante Adams, whoever it may be, if you make that move in June. But every single year, while people think once you get to the start of the season, you're going to have a very difficult time going through and trading for actual producing players, because during the year, of course, everybody is going to be submitting starting lineups. Everybody is going to be looking at the points of players actually giving them and not thinking about the long term. In reality, that's not what happens in these dynasty leagues. I mean, I've seen this every single season since 2014 in every single league that I played in. And maybe it's true for weeks 1, 2, and 3, right? Maybe the first month of the season or so. Yes, everybody's just thinking about points this year, points this year, points this year, when everybody thinks that they're contending. But going back to what we were talking about at the beginning of this video, whereas everybody going into the season may view themselves as a contending roster, by the time you get to week 4, by the time you get to week 5, there will be owners in your league that are having to face the harsh reality check when they're sitting there at 1-4 and they have had 2 serious injuries of going, hell, I'm not going to be able to compete this season. They look at a roster where maybe they do have Nick Chubb actually out there producing. They have Saquon Barkley out there producing as a running back 1, and they're saying, okay, well, at this point, I kind of need to burn it down. I need to try to get the highest rookie pick that I can in 2024. These veteran assets are just going to lose value going into next offseason. I need to pick up additional 2024 first. And in general, what's going to happen in your dynasty league is, you know, everybody in that one league you're in has that one owner that has accumulated 4 to 5 future first already. That team that's already dedicated to rebuilding, that team that's already looking for 2024, 2025. They are not going to be willing to trade those 2024 first to the pretenders that all of a sudden need those picks. So instead, their only option is going to be going to the owners that have picks left over. And if you are one of the few contenders that did not trade their 2024 first going into the season, while maybe you passed on the 10% discount that you could have traded for one of those veterans over the summer, you may actually get a larger discount on that player during the season. It happens every single year where someone goes through and someone trades a veteran stud just for some crappy rookie picks, and the league chat goes nuts. Everybody's pissed, but essentially the team that all of a sudden is forced into a rebuild is working with such limited options that they didn't really have any other choice. So that's why, in my mind, you are much, much, much better off if you are a contending team to hold your rookie picks all summer long. And if you are going to sell your rookie picks, which in general I'm against, we are going to do so once we know we are contending, once we know what we need, once we know the players we're going after are healthy and producing, and we can identify one of those pretenders going into the season that all of a sudden are having a fire sale on their veterans. Now, before we get into the 2024 rookies here, I do want to say, if you are having that redraft itch and you want to actually think about what these guys will be doing in 2023, of course, you can hop into a draft with us every single day on Underdog Fantasy. We are live streaming on the Flock Fantasy YouTube channel on Underdog Fantasy, their best ball drafts. So there's no time commitment at all during this season. So I drafted over 700 teams on Underdog and won $150,000 last year. When you sign up for Underdog with promo code FLOCK, you are going to get a 100% deposit match. You are going to get my 2023 fantasy football rankings, and you will get a free trial to flockfantasy.com, where obviously you can find my dynasty rankings. Link is in the comment section and the description. But let's go ahead and let's look forward to these 2024 rookies, just to have an idea of what you could actually expect if you're going to hold on to these rookie picks. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to pull up what you had on Keep Trade Cut for their Devy rankings. Of course, Keep Trade Cut, not the best resource, and we can actually look at what we have on flockfantasy.com. I know Corey put out some very useful data with his own rankings over there, but the main reason I'm going to be pulling up these Devy rankings on Keep Trade Cut is to show you that right now Caleb Williams has a higher overall ranking than Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson, the #1 running back in Dynasty today, the 101 this season, the guy that's a first-round starter pick, the guy that is a top 3 running back in Underdog best ball drafts right now. Caleb Williams' expectations in Superflex drafts have him higher than Bijan. Whether this is right or wrong, that's up for you to decide, but it's essentially guaranteed that Caleb Williams will be the first overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft. And not only is he a phenomenal passer, but this is a quarterback that has a crap ton of rushing upside. He's going to be an immediate round 1 starter pick. So that's one reason for you to be excited. The next reason for you to be excited is going to be Marvin Harrison Jr., supposedly the best wide receiver prospect that's come out since Jamar Chase. This is a guy that had all the pedigree in the world. This is a guy that goes to Ohio State with arguably the best wide receiver room in college football. He dominates alongside CJ Stroud. Interested to see what we get this next season with no CJ Stroud. But right now, in Keep Trade Cut rankings, he is well ahead of Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. Both those guys were going as second-round starter picks, and Marvin Harrison Jr. is already ahead of him. Now, another guy that you can be looking at that's in a similar range will be Drake May. And Drake May is right there with those guys. Now, May, you can make an argument that he's not in the same caliber of Marvin Harrison Jr., not in the same caliber as Caleb Williams. The big thing that I'm looking at, and of course, I'm no expert when it comes to scouting college quarterbacks. I think nobody is that good at it, to be honest. But what I can do is I can pull up a simple box score and see, hell, this man had 700 rushing yards this past season. He had 700 rushing yards this past season, 38 passing touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I mean, a total of 45 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. The man's ridiculous. He had, 9.2 adjusted yards per pass attempt. He'll also be a second-round starter pick at minimum his first season. Yeah, Brock Bowers is supposed to be the best tight end prospect since Kyle Pitts. You have Travion Henderson, who's a running back that has promised. This past season, obviously, following down the Dobbins path at Ohio State. You have another wide receiver that's supposed to go top 10 in the NFL draft. You have another running back that has a lot of promise. There's a lot of talent in the 2024 class. Overall, I don't necessarily think you should be holding on to your picks just because those options that are in the class right now. More so, I think you should be holding on to those picks for all the reasons that we mentioned previously, with the strategy and the timing of when we want to sell them to optimize your odds of actually winning your Dynasty League in 2023. Now, one quick side note, this should be extremely obvious. If you're a rebuilding team and you're not looking to win in 2023, you have no business ever considering selling a future rookie pick. It doesn't matter the price point you were holding onto those picks and just trying to let those assets accumulate value on your Dynasty roster going into next offseason. But I think that's all I have for you. Again, thank you so much for being a member of the flock and supporting the channel. If you have not done so already, drop a like, subscribe if you play Dynasty. And of course, if you want to get in a draft with me, we are drafting every single day on Underdog. You can always sign up with promo code FLOCK and they'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. Get my 2023 Dynasty Fantasy Football rankings. Get a free trial to flockfantasy.com. Find that link in the description and the comment section. But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. Really do appreciate you. Really hope you have a great day and really hope that we get to see you with the video tomorrow.